Have our people been told?
They have. And soon, the world.
Commander, will they follow?
Inquisition, will you follow? Will you fight? Will we triumph? Your leader, your herald, your Inquisitor!
Hello, Apps here from Dimp Digital. Welcome to my review of Dragon Age Inquisition. As always, I'll be starting off with my cards on the table. First off, I've played this on the PlayStation 4. Secondly, I've played through the full Mass Effect trilogy and enjoyed it immensely. That's Bioware's other series. They are the developers of Dragon Age, and they created the Mass Effect series. But I've never played a Dragon Age game previously, so this entire universe was new to me. And before I started and started to play Dragon Age Inquisition, I spent quite a bit of time researching the lore and the events of the previous game. Or games, there's two of them in fact. There is a great beginner's guide on Kotaku, and also PC Gamer released a very long and in-depth video and an article to accompany that are used to brush up on the world of Thedas. If you've not played or stumbled across Dragon Age previously, I would highly recommend you at least give the Kotaku guide a read. I will link all the resources I've mentioned in the description below so you can get hold of them. Now, I have put over 55 hours into Dragon Age Inquisition, and I finished the main campaign and a fair amount of the side missions. However, looking at my journal just now, there is still so much more for me to do, and seriously, in terms of content, this is pound for pound up there with one of the very best. There is so much to do, and there is so much more that I could personally get out of this. The general quests and story quests are well thought out, and there's quite a bit of variety in terms of the locations and what you've got to do. The side quests are decent overall, but there are a couple where you'll just be picking up a note, for example, and it will suggest an area where there's some loot in a house. And all you'll literally do is go and collect the loot from the box and collect the prize, which feels a tad lazy. Of course, though, you don't have to do these particular ones. They're all optional. There's plenty of good and well thought out side quests, and particularly those that relate direct to your companions. They are very, very good. I'd recommend you go through those ones. As you build your particular army, you're set in a world where there's an evil presence appearing, there's a breach in the sky, and you've got to build an army to take it on. You start unlocking what are known as operations, and you have a mode at the war table where you can select missions that you don't actually get to play. Instead, you choose a particular resource from your army, and it'll give you a standardized time on how long it'll take them to complete this. Once it's completed, you can return and collect your reward, but this particular mode is screaming out for an integrated app, something that you can manage on the go, because some of these missions take 3 hours in real time, and like I said, it's passive, so you're not actually doing anything. But what it means is that your particular resource will be locked for that period of time. So if you only sit down and play for an hour or 2 hours, you aren't going to achieve much. And if you could just manage this on the go, I'd love to do this on my commute, just spend 10 minutes just sending out my resources to different missions. Then by the time I get in, I've achieved quite a lot in that day, and I can start reaping the rewards of it. It's not there, but it's food for thought for Bioware in the future. In terms of the content, it's there in terms of character creation as well. You can choose to play as one of 4 different races. You can pick them to be male or female, and then you can customize how they look. Then you've got 3 different combat classes to choose, and 2 of those each have a subclass. The great thing is that whatever combination you choose has a different impact on how others in the world perceive you. For example, go for a Qunari mage, and you're going to struggle to find people that are gonna trust you right away because of the way the politics are set up. It'll open up some interesting dialogue options, and as I said, the politics of in Dragon Age universe are fantastic. Every race has a history, and it's fleshed out of a backstory, and it's great to see how your journey and the choices you make affect and shape the world around you. Dragon Age Inquisition is not a massive sprawling open world that you might think. Instead it opts for several closed off regions which are unfortunately separated by load screens. So you don't get the epic exploration that you get with, say, a Skyrim. It doesn't quite feel the same. However, having these regions closed off has allowed Bioware to pack a lot more detail into them. They all feel distinctly different and they look fantastic. They could have really done with having a day and night cycle though, which I think is a given in today's day and age. As it stands, each region has a set default time and even a set default weather, which is a bit of a shame. Now, it's all very well having all this content for us to walk around and explore and mess around with, but you know, it's all pretty useless if it doesn't play well. Luckily, for the most part, Dragon Age Inquisition delivers. It has a solid story and does a really good job of making you feel like you're slowly building up the army to take on this seemingly unstoppable force that's threatening the world. Controlling your party members and the Inquisitor is smooth and easy enough, but I would say that the combat is lacking. That the best word I can think of to describe it is that it feels weak. A lot of the time you'll just be holding R2 or the R trigger, doing your standard attack whilst occasionally using face buttons and other bumpers to do special moves. There is a tactical camera sort of combat mode that offers a more strategic alternative, but the awkward camera and just the lack of fun that's involved in this mode meant I only used this a handful of times. Other small annoyances are that the codex is not narrated, which I find very disappointing, especially considering they are in Mass Effect. Having to also back out of conversations with your companion just to ask a new question or a new subject is another nickel. Why can't I just go back in the conversation tree and start a new subject up? I don't like him to completely disengage from them and restart it up. Having to manually pick up every single piece of resource and loot does get tiresome. I'd love a perk where perhaps your companions automatically pick this up for you. You know, when you discovered it and when it appeared on the map, they could go out and discover it. Last minor complaint is that there are a few technical issues with the game. There's a fair amount of popping, there's stuttering on the cutscenes at times, and a couple of animation glitches that I've had that warp you out at the moment a little bit. What I will say though is that Dragon Age Inquisition didn't crash once on me, which is a surprise because my previous experience with these epic role-playing games is that you get at least one crash, or even worse, a corrupted data file. None of those problems are present here. Some great touches from Bioware include the fantastic auto-saving system, so even if you did get a crash, you know, it will save you bacon a lot of time. It's really well implemented. Clicking the L3 button to scan nearby loot is genius. It marks it on your little radar and it sort of sends out a sonar pulse, and it makes spotting and finding loot as easy as it's ever been. The map and quest organisation is one of the best I have come across, especially considering how much you're juggling at any one point. It does a really good job of showing you where you need to go, where it's located on the map, and what region it's in. So it's fantastic to have that in there because there's nothing more frustrating than running around not knowing what you're doing. All in all, Dragon Age Inquisition is fantastic. Yes, it has its faults. Every game has its faults. There is no such thing as a perfect game. But the amount that you can bleed from Dragon Age Inquisition means it cannot be rivaled in terms of value. The universe of Phaedos is bubbling with political and racial issues that you can get stuck into, and it creates a brilliantly realistic setting, which is quite hard for a fantasy game to do. Yes, the combat is forgettable, but the story, the characters, and the amount of variables that are in this game is top notch. If you want something to sink your teeth into, then look no further. Just be prepared to do your homework and let yourself get sucked into Bioware's epic fantasy world. My official grading for Dragon Age Inquisition is gold. Thanks for your time, and ta-da.
Enough! Pretender, you toy with forces beyond your ken no more.